Imagine you wake up tomorrow and discover you've won $5 million. Your problems are over. Your future is secure. Everything you've been working toward, financial freedom, security, the ability to stop worrying, it's all suddenly, completely, irrevocably yours. Now imagine that within 5 years you are worse off financially than you were before you won. This isn't a hypothetical. It's a documented pattern, and it has a name: sudden wealth syndrome. And understanding why it happens reveals something profound about the relationship between money, psychology, and identity. Let's start with the data. Studies on lottery winners consistently show outcomes that seem impossible from the outside. Bankruptcy rates among major lottery winners are significantly higher than the general population. A Florida study found that nearly 2,000 lottery winners in that state alone declared bankruptcy within 5 years of their win. Research published in the Journal of Financial Economics found that large cash windfalls to households with low financial literacy actually increased the probability of bankruptcy rather than reducing it. How is this possible? How do people take millions of dollars and end up poorer than they started? The answer has almost nothing to do with math, and everything to do with psychology. The first reason is identity mismatch, and it is the most fundamental. Every person carries what psychologists call a financial self-concept, a deep, often unconscious belief about what level of wealth is normal and appropriate for someone like them. This self-concept is formed in childhood. It's shaped by family, community, observation, and it operates largely below awareness. When a sudden windfall dramatically exceeds that self-concept, something uncomfortable happens. The money doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like it belongs. And the unconscious mind, working to resolve this dissonance, finds ways to return to the familiar. Spending that feels generous but is actually self-sabotage. Investments in businesses that were always going to fail. Loans to family members that were never going to be repaid. A slow, systematic erosion of the wealth until the external reality once again matches the internal belief. This is not stupidity. It is psychology working exactly as designed, restoring consistency between belief and reality. The second reason is social pressure and relationship disruption. Money changes relationships in ways that most people are completely unprepared for. The moment a lottery win becomes public knowledge, and it almost always does, the winner enters a new social reality. Friends and family who previously treated them as an equal now see them differently, some with genuine happiness, many with expectation. The requests begin: loans, gifts, investments, business opportunities, help with this, help with that. Research on lottery winners shows that social isolation, relationship breakdown, and a profound sense of distrust are among the most commonly reported outcomes. People who were embedded in warm, functional communities before their win often find themselves isolated within years, not because they became different people, but because money revealed dynamics that were always there. And the psychological cost of navigating these changed relationships, of constantly evaluating requests, of feeling responsible for others' financial situations, of losing the ease of pre-existing social connections, is enormous. Many winners report that the money created more anxiety than it resolved. The third reason is the absence of financial infrastructure. Managing significant wealth is a skill. Like any skill, it requires knowledge, practice, and often professional support. Most people who come into sudden wealth have none of these. This is not a moral failing. It's a simple knowledge gap. You cannot be expected to know how to manage something you've never had. But the consequences of that gap are severe. Poor investment decisions, inadequate tax planning, failure to protect assets legally, vulnerability to financial predators. And there are entire industries that specifically target newly wealthy individuals who lack financial sophistication. Studies show that people who build wealth gradually develop financial infrastructure as they go. Advisors, systems, knowledge, habits. People who receive it suddenly have the money without the infrastructure. And money without infrastructure is extraordinarily vulnerable. The fourth reason is what psychologists call the reference point shift and its aftermath. When you receive a large sum of money, your spending reference point shifts dramatically upward. Things that previously felt extravagant start to feel normal. The psychological accounting that previously kept spending in check recalibrates around a new baseline. The problem is that this shift happens much faster than the development of the habits and systems needed to sustain it. People begin living at a level that their windfall could theoretically support, but only if managed carefully, and careful management requires skills they haven't yet developed. So they spend at the rate of their new reference point, and the money depletes faster than they realize, because depletion at scale doesn't feel the same as it does with smaller sums. By the time the reference point shift becomes visible, by the time the account balances make the problem undeniable, the habits are entrenched, the lifestyle is established, and the work of reversing it feels almost as difficult as it would have been to build wealth from scratch. So what does all of this tell us? First, that wealth is not primarily a financial phenomenon. It is a psychological one. The habits, beliefs, relationships, and self-concepts that surround money determine what happens to it far more reliably than the amount itself. This is why financial education that focuses only on numbers, on interest rates and investment vehicles and tax strategies, misses most of what actually matters. The numbers are the easy part. The psychology is where it gets decided. Second, that your financial self-concept is one of the most important things you can examine. Not what you know about money, not what you earn, but what you believe at the deepest level about what you deserve, about what is possible for someone like you, about whether wealth is something that belongs in your life. Because that belief will find a way to express itself in the decisions you make, in the opportunities you take or avoid, in what you do with money when you have it. And the good news, if it can be called that, is that self-concept is changeable. Not quickly, not easily, but with deliberate, consistent work on the beliefs themselves rather than just the behaviors they produce. The lottery winner's story is a cautionary tale, but it's also an X-ray. It shows us in accelerated and dramatic form what psychology does to money when the internal world and the external world are misaligned. The question isn't whether you'll win the lottery. The question is whether the internal work you're doing is moving your self-concept toward the financial reality you want to create. If this reframed how you think about wealth and identity, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the psychology that determines financial outcomes far more than most people realize.